I'm John Wagstaff. I'm Professor of Medical Oncology in the College of Medicine here in Swansea, and I came here in 2003 as part of the development of the new medical school in Swansea. And when I arrived here, there was really no clinical research going on at all in the areas of cancer that I'm interested in, which is kidney cancer, a type of skin cancer called melanoma, and also prostate cancer. There was, however, a clinical trials unit here, and over the 11 years that I've been here, we've really developed the clinical trials unit quite a lot, so it's much bigger now, and we've been able to run a number of trials, and over the last 5 years some of these trials have been really quite important trials for developing new treatments for kidney cancer and melanoma, and this has led to the licensing of at least 3 new medicines for the treatment of these diseases, and in fact last year 3 of the trials results were made public and resulted in publications, in 2 of them in the New England Journal of Medicine and 1 in the Lancet, and that's really emphasised the fact that now in Swansea we're recognised as being one of the main centres for doing clinical trials in melanoma and kidney cancer, and also that we're internationally recognised as well, and that's good for us. It's good for our patients, because it will mean that in the future we will attract trials of new treatments, which means our patients will get access to these new treatments at an early stage of their development. Okay, well, melanoma is a type of skin cancer that tends to spread around the body very quickly after it has been diagnosed, and up until about 5 years ago, once it had spread around the body, the prognosis of these patients is very poor indeed. The average survival was only about 9 months, and conventional chemotherapy really is not a very effective treatment at all, with shrinkage rates of the cancer in about 1 in 6 patients, and as I mentioned, the average survival time of only about 9 months. This is a population of patients that tend to be quite young. The average age is 50, which means that half the patients are younger than this, so still have active lives and very often families. So getting metastatic melanoma at that age is a devastating problem. And there's really been 2 breakthroughs in the treatment of this disease. One is that in about half the patients there is a mutation in a gene in the melanoma which makes the melanoma susceptible to a treatment called a BRAF inhibitor. So there are 2 drugs that do that, dabrafenib and vemurafenib, and these drugs will shrink the melanoma down in 3/4 of the patients that we treat. When we first started using them in clinical trials, we were amazed at how quickly the patients respond, and the first trial that we were involved with these drugs compared them with conventional chemotherapy, and after about a year it was quite clear that the survival of the patients was superior to chemotherapy, and these drugs are now standard of care for patients with these BRAF mutations. The other area that's advanced considerably over the last 3 or 4 years is that there is a new form of immunotherapy. So that's a treatment where we use drugs to boost the activity of the immune system so that the immune system will fight against the cancer, and 2 of these drugs, a drug called nivolumab and a drug called ipilimumab, have been part of a randomized trial which compared them, and again the results of this are quite spectacular. Nivolumab on its own will shrink the cancers down in around about 4 out of 10 patients that we treat, but if you combine nivolumab with ipilimumab, then the shrinkage rates go up to 70%, and we have patients now whose disease has completely disappeared, who are still alive 3 years later, leading a completely normal life. So Both of these drugs are now also licensed, and in fact I just heard this morning that nivolumab has also gained NICE approval this week, so will again become standard of care across the UK for the management of these patients. I think being involved with clinical trials, certainly over the last 10 years, has been extremely exciting. I grew up as a trainee in an era where chemotherapy was just being developed, and at that time we were very excited to think that chemotherapy might be curative for a lot of cancers. That actually turned out not to be the case. We can cure some cancers with chemotherapy, but for a lot of the common cancers it isn't a curative treatment. And I think over the last 10 years the change has been that we're now using our understanding of the molecular and cell biology of the cancer to design new treatments based on this understanding, which means that we can develop drugs that hit particular targets within the cancer. And what that means is that the treatments are more likely to be effective, and also the clinical development of the drugs tends to occur much more quickly. So you can see results very quickly indeed after a new drug enters clinical trial, and that's been extremely rewarding. We are the cancer centre for South West Wales, which has a population of just under 1 million people, about 900,000 people. And the importance of the Cancer Trials Unit here for the population of South West Wales is that we should be able to develop the ability to get access to cutting edge research for the population that we serve. And certainly in a number of tumour areas, including the ones that I treat, but also one of my colleagues who treats breast cancer has been extremely active in the breast cancer world, and in that area as well we're recognised as an important research centre. So I think that is something that helps the population that we serve.